cash, homie.
Would you please break the damn story?
He took it out.
Oh, for you.
PFTOT Tuesday edition, also showing up in the PFTPM audio folder, podcast style. Chris Sims, Mike Florio. Things that we didn't get to or things we'd like to talk about a little bit more, because 2 hours for Chris, 3 hours for me just isn't enough time to talk about everything we'd like to talk about on a given morning. And let's start with what will be the story of the NFL until we know where he's going to sign, whether it's back with the Patriots or with a new team, Tom Brady. We talked about potential replacements, and we focused on veterans. What about the possibility, I'm not saying probability, likelihood, or should, but the possibility of the New England Patriots drafting a quarterback, maybe in round one even, to try to come in and be their next guy? Do you think they may do it? And if so, who do you think that they would or should pursue, Chris?
Well, I guess I would look at, one, I don't expect them to make that type of move. I don't. One, I just think that they do have confidence in Jarrett Stidham for the future to be that guy. And I think they're very happy with that pick. Would I be shocked if they took a quarterback somewhere in the draft? No, not necessarily. But the first round, and especially at pick 23, as it looks right now, and like I told you, I haven't got into like the film study of these college kids yet. But I don't know if there's going to be anybody there that's close in the range of 23. They're in kind of no man's land there as far as getting that kind of guy. Now, listen, if Justin Herbert fell and maybe was on the board at 17 or 18, maybe they do make a move for that kind of guy. I would think that would be the type of guy they would want in this. Maybe a Tua, but I have a hard time believing Tua gets out of the top, 6 or 7 picks. I could see it more likely of a Justin Herbert maybe falling because of the things we talked about a little bit, because that offense stinks and people are getting scared that he's never been out of Eugene and all of that. But for a team, Mike, the Patriots, they don't have a second-round pick, and it's going to be hard for them to – I just don't imagine them trading up into the top 10, I guess, to go quarterback the draft, road. I don't see that happening.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. Look, if somebody falls, it's a different issue altogether. And as you said, if somebody starts sliding into the lower reaches of round one, 23, you say they got the 23rd pick. It's like, my God, when's the last time they picked that high? Well, it would have been 2009. It's the last time they got bounced before the divisional round. So they're not starting in as low of a spot as they would have been. And remember, in 2015, they didn't have a first-round pick at all because of Deflategate. So I'm fascinated by the possibility, and I think Bill Belichick is going to look at every potential available candidate, whether it is a first wave of free agency quarterback, a second wave guy, a guy who gets supplanted by various moves, a guy who gets traded for weeks after free agency begins. But, whatever it takes to make the team better. And really, what do they think about Jarrett Stidham? Are they ready to hand the reins to him? They were ready to give the reins to Tom Brady when Drew Bledsoe got injured in September of 2001. And Brady, as a sixth-round pick, was in his second season. So, we may be looking at Stidham now saying, who knows? A year from now, we may be saying, man, Jarrett Stidham, a Pro Bowler, a guy who took the team to the Super Bowl, whatever the case may be. But I think that I'd be fascinated by Tua if I was the Patriots.
Right.
But I agree with you. They're not even close enough to even get a whiff of Tua.
No, I just have a hard time thinking Tua gets out of the top 7, injury concern or not. I just think there'll be some team there that's just going to go, okay, whatever. We're going to let him sit on the bench, and also, I don't know if Tua really fits what New England wants at quarterback. Maybe they've changed, but hey, Tua, you can say what you want. I love watching him play. He's got some big-time skill. I get it. Tua's scary. He's scary as hell to me. He really is. I would really be doing my due diligence. Not a big guy. You and I met him at the Super Bowl. We got to look at him that way. He's not even in the same stratosphere as Justin Herbert or Joe Burrow as far as size at the quarterback. And he plays a style of football that can lend itself to getting hit a little bit like we've seen. And now being a big guy, that style of football and an injury history, that would just absolutely scare me to death about Tua, as much as I love watching him play. And I think there's going to be some teams that look at that and have that same feeling.
I don't disagree with that at all. And
does New England? Let me ask you this, Mike. You think New England Okay, no Andy Dalton, no Ryan Tannehill. Who do you think is most likely the next guy they would look at that's like they're on the market right now as like, a realistic option? I mean, where do you think that goes? I think it might be like Case Keenum. And then they bring Case Keenum in just to compete with Jarrett Stidham and go there.
I'm a believer in Case Keenum.
I know.
I
me
thought
too.
Case Keenum was spectacular in Minnesota in 2017. I thought the Vikings should have kept Case Keenum for $17 million instead of signing anyone at $28 million. He's a guy, especially if you've got offensive line issues, and the Patriots had offensive line issues. He's a guy who isn't mobile per se, but remember in 2017, Chris, it was the first year we were doing this together. He gets flushed out of the pocket. He goes lateral. He stops, resets, looks around. He can sense the walls closing in, keeps running, resets, and eventually somebody's wide open. I love that in him, and the Vikings figured out how to get the most out of that. And that would be a breath of fresh air for a Patriots offense that has relied on Tom Brady stepping up in the pocket and sliding left and right without really running.
Right.
They could really do a lot of things, and it would cover up for a bad offensive line.
Yes, it would. I mean, yeah, I hear you all there, and I'm with you. I mean, I think Case Keenum is better than what people want to give him credit for. He was phenomenal in that year in Minnesota, like you talked about. Did some good things with the Redskins. I mean, let's be serious. The Redskins weren't that talented, didn't have that much help around them either, so nothing was going to look that pretty. But, yeah, very fascinating. The thing I also find fascinating is, like, we don't even talk about Marcus Mariota in this conversation, guys like that. Like, where the hell is he?
That's a guy whose name has been coming up in connection with the Patriots.
Yeah, I know.
Would that shock you? Would that shock you if, you put Marcus Mariota in the right spot? And, where the coach is the strong personality and you don't need the quarterback to be as vocal of a leader as maybe you need him to be in other cities. Because that was the one big knock.
Right.
And I've met Mariota a couple of times. It's like, there's not a whole lot of dynamic personality radiating out of him. Very nice guy, very great athlete, but I don't know what kind of a quarterback he is when you look at the full package. That's a fascinating possibility if the Patriots think that they could get more out of Mariota than the Titans.
Yeah, it is. There's a lot of things to like about Mariota's game. The thing that's just going to scare the Patriots or any team that starts to evaluate him is, kind of what you talked about a little there, is just the throwing itself, the consistency there. Can he be fixed? Can it be better? Because that's my big concern. I know you and I have talked about this a lot over the last 2 years. It's just a lot of, like, what I would say NFL, like, should be a consistent completion type throw and pass and reception, and it just doesn't happen a lot all the time with Marcus Mariota. His throwing can be erratic and all over the place at times, and that's what ultimately led him to getting benched this year.
All right, let me move on to the next topic, and this is something that you mentioned during the show, and we really didn't have time to go back and delve into it, and this is Ezekiel Elliott's contract. You said that if the Cowboys could, maybe they should try to find a way out from under it. So I've looked at his contract, and this is an example of the kind of contract that you want to have your agent to negotiate for you players, because here's what it does. Out of the gates, it guaranteed all of the compensation for 2019 and 2020. So the 2020 salary is $6.8 million. It's fully guaranteed, and there's a guaranteed option bonus of $13 million that is payable on March 22.
Gotcha.
Then here's the key. March 22 of 2020, Ezekiel Elliott's full salary of $9.6 million for 2021 becomes fully guaranteed. See, the triggers are a year in advance,
right.
Not the year of, a year in advance. Next March, on the 5th day of the league year, the 2022 salary becomes fully guaranteed. It's another $12.4 million. So you get yourself into a spot where you can never get out from under the contract because you're already going to pay him this year's money fully guaranteed, and the only way to get value out of it is to keep him around. And if you keep him around, you're going to end up guaranteeing next year's salary as well. So really the most practical time for the Cowboys to get out of this is after 2022, 3 seasons from now, Chris.
Wow, I was wrong there. I for some reason I had it mixed up, and I should have looked this up before I talked about it on the show. But I thought, I didn't realize. You're right. So it makes no sense to do anything right now. And they can't. You're right. Even if they were like at that March deadline you talked about, decided like, oh, okay, we don't want to go with 2021. Man, that's a big dead cap number that I'm looking at right now if they were to cut ties with him to where you're going to be almost $15 million of dead money. So To your point, that is why you have an agent. I mean, yeah, right.
The other thing is, do you trade him? But who could you trade him to? Who could you trade that contract to? The biggest connection to him, the strongest connection to him is Jason Garrett.
Right.
He's with the Giants. He's got Saquon Barkley.
Yeah.
He didn't want Ezekiel Elliott.
Right.
So I don't know where you could move Ezekiel Elliott to if you even wanted to do that. But I wanted to address that point because it came up and we didn't have time to really delve into it.
Right.
The Cowboys are tied to Ezekiel Elliott probably for at least the next 2 seasons and maybe the next 3 seasons.
Yeah, it's close. You're right. Well, they need to get on his ass then. That's what they need to start doing. You know, Zeke Elliott, I like you a lot, and I want you to be awesome. I do. It's fallen off. And then, you know, the things I hear, again, you've heard me say this before. I hear it's burning the candle at both ends too much from too many people. And that's what I don't like. I want to see Ezekiel Elliott, the guy I saw the first year. You know, I want to see that guy, the explosive, get back to sprinting, working out, lifting weights. I thought his legs looked different in the uniform this year. You know me, Mike, I like to watch that. And that's scary to me. And that they needed to make sure that they crack the whip on him a little bit so they get the return for their investment, because I did not like what I saw from him last year.
And you made a great point several times last year when he would bust through the first level of defense. He would not take off like he used to, and what would be a 50-yard run would end up being a 10-yard
run.
So he's got to get that explosion back, and we know he has it. It's not like after 4 NFL seasons it's gone. It's there. You just have to be in the right shape to take advantage of it.
Right.
All right. There's a report that came out yesterday from The Athletic. I think it was Mike Sando. There's one general manager. And look, we got to couch all of this because who knows, really. It's all driven by chatter at the combine.
Right.
But there's a GM that believes the Buccaneers are interested in Teddy Bridgewater, which would be the ultimate misdirection. They have us thinking they're focused on Tom Brady and Phillip Rivers because Bruce Arians mentioned them by name last week. That could be cover for taking a straight line shot at Teddy Bridgewater, who was 5-0 last year as a starter, and his best game statistically came against the Buccaneers.
Right.
So, you know, there's reason to think that Bruce Arians may have been thinking during that game, damn, I want that guy, not this guy.
Yeah.
I want that guy. And he may go get that guy. And from the standpoint of reducing mistakes, I kind of like the Teddy Bridgewater idea, Chris.
Well, that's exactly it. That's where you start, right? I mean, Teddy Bridgewater, he is Teddy Bridgewater because he limits mistakes. He does not play that style of football. Now, that can be frustrating, too, because, you know, he can be a little bit of a Charlie checkdown at times where you want to go, man, come on, push the ball down the field. But maybe that's what Bruce Arians is looking for. Maybe he's been
no
scarred.
risk it, no biscuit.
Right.
No risk it. I still can't reconcile no risk it, no biscuit with being upset that a guy had 30 interceptions.
Well,
no risk it, no biscuit.
I think your point's real there, too. You know, I think that's a little bit of the mantra of the offense at times. I mean, you made the points. There's reasons Carson Palmer and Peyton Manning threw a lot of interceptions in the Bruce Arians offense, too. You know, so yes, there has got to be some give and take there from the Bucs to know that Jameis was being pushed that way, and that leads me perfectly into why I don't buy the Teddy Bridgewater to Tampa thing, because I don't see Bridgewater as being a no risk it, no biscuit type of quarterback. That's just not. I think ultimately he would start to frustrate Bruce Arians as much as Jameis Winston, because he'd be going, stand in the pocket. Look, there's going to be a 30-yard completion, and you threw the check down and got the ball out of your hands. Why'd you do that? I think he would get just as frustrated with that as he would with Jameis throwing, 25 interceptions. So, yeah, that's one where, like, I know it kind of makes sense, but I think I got to see it to believe it before I get behind that.
Maybe he thinks he has a better chance of coaching risk it biscuit out of Bridgewater than he does reeling in Jameis.
Maybe
right?
You're right. Maybe he's just going. You're right. It's the lesser of the two evils.
What guys? Give me a guy out there that you would put in that no risk it, no biscuit category that would be a perfect match for what Arians tries to do.
Well, I will say, like, Tannehill is a guy that looks to strike and throw the ball down the field right away. I mean, that was where my mind went with that more than anything. After that, hey, Phillip Rivers is that guy too. He certainly is. I mean, we've seen he's risked it a lot and lost a lot of biscuits because of it. And so those are the two I think more than any that jump out to me about that type of mentality at that position.
All right, next topic, Isaac Bruce entering the Hall of Fame. He was in Canton and he did some radio, and he has an opinion, Chris, and I want to get your reaction to this. Isaac Bruce believes that the defending Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs offense cannot compare to the greatest show on turf. I will always say this, Bruce said, from a personnel standpoint, I think we were better. And from a mentality standpoint, I think we were better. Because what you see with the Chiefs right now is pretty much our spring practices where there's no tackling allowed. What we had, we went up against a totally different gauntlet. Guys were looking to take your head off. It was being promoted. Your thoughts?
Well, okay. I mean, again, I don't know. People are trying to take off Tyreek Hill's head too when he goes over the middle, all that. Now, I'll say this. I mean, I think he makes the point. I will say this is statistically, yes. I don't know if I'll sit here and say the Chiefs can be the Rams. First off, if we took the top two receivers, right, where we take Isaac Bruce and we take Torrey Holt, right? Yeah,
right.
I'm gonna go advantage Rams over Sammy Watkins and Tyreek Hill. Even though maybe I go Tyreek Hill is the most dangerous of those, I am gonna take the Rams. The running back.
I got an idea.
Yeah.
I have an idea.
Right.
Let's do an impromptu, completely unplanned draft of skill position players from the greatest show-offs on turf and the 2019 Chiefs. You take the first pick, and I know who it's going to be.
Well,
and I'm
yes.
talking everybody offensively. You take Patrick Mahomes, right?
Yes, right. Going Patrick Mahomes one.
I take Marshall Faulk.
Oh, yep, you're going Marshall Faulk. I'm probably going to go, man. I think I'm going to go Tyreek Hill, actually. I'm going Tyreek Hill.
And I would go after that Isaac Bruce.
And then I would go Torrey Holt.
And then I would go Travis Kelce.
Okay, and then I would probably have to go with Kurt Warner after that.
But you went first, so my next pick would probably be Sammy Watkins at that point. I can't even remember who the pass-catching tight end was for the Rams.
I can't either. And we haven't got
Gerald Everett?
It might.
Does that ring a bell?
No, yeah, I don't think it's him. No, it's not him.
It was more recent.
I should know one of these guys because one of them came down and played with us in Tampa, and I'm embarrassed to say I can't come up with the name right now.
That's all right. He doesn't remember your name
either way, I mean, yeah, we didn't get to Azir Hakeem, right? Like, he's another guy on that Rams offense. To me, where Isaac Bruce is
Roland Williams.
Roland Williams. Yeah, good old Roland. But to me, this is where, I'll get behind Isaac Bruce. One, I think that, yes, they had more talent. Two, I think that there's offensive scheme at that point was more new to the NFL. Where Andy Reid's not as new. He's still awesome and all that. But the Mart system and everything kind of caught the league by storm at that time, too, which I think added to making their talent look even maybe better than it was. And that's no disrespect to any of those guys. They're amazing. Now, the X factor in all this is, yeah, that's great, but the best player of that group by far is Patrick Mahomes. And yeah, that offense might not statistically put up the numbers, but right now I'm going to bet they win more than one Super Bowl, which in my book will make them better. And that's where I think ultimately we'll be heading.
Yeah, I agree with that. And look, Mahomes is so much better than any of those other guys. Having Mahomes means that the Chiefs will be the new greatest show on turf. Even though they play on grass and in the elements, and Mahomes loves playing in the elements, and that's the reason why this budding dynasty is going to last a lot longer than the Rams did. And also, give me Andy Reid over Mike Martz. All due respect to Mike Martz.
Yeah, I'm with you.
1,000 out of 1,000 times, right?
Yes, exactly right. Yeah, I'm with you there all the way. But I think the big thing, Andy Reid continues to innovate and do things differently. Mike Martz, he never really changed. And, you said it. Mahomes is just special. Mahomes is one of the rare guys in the history of football where you can say, this team is better, but this team has this guy, and it actually equals out. And that's like, I'm like dead serious. There's only been like a handful of guys in the history of the sport where you could say the one guy can actually overcome the team aspect of the game. And that is really, really rare. And that's why he's on his way to being one of the, if not the greatest quarterback we've ever seen. He's going to be in that conversation.
Lastly, before we go, we have an important update. Tony Romo will not be earning $17 million per year under his new deal with CBS. We must clarify it. He will be earning $18 million per year.
Bam! Eat that, CBS. Tony Romo got 18. I'm having fun, CBS. I'm just playing.
Yeah, we're just having some fun. But this came out yesterday from Andrew Marchand of the New York Post. It's $17.5 million in salary, $500,000 per year in perks. I don't know what kind of perks you get for $500,000 per year, but I want me some of those perks, NBC.
We all do.
Do they does he get an entire floor at a hotel? Does he get the entire hotel? He's the only tenant at the hotel?
I mean, what's he got to do? Well, I bet you the $500,000 in perks is like they're going to pay him that $500,000 to like make sure he plays in a few of those pro-am like golf tournaments that are on CBS or something like that. It's going to be those kind of things, I would think. He's ultimately become the face of the franchise of that channel in the sports department. Good for Tony Romo. Tony Romo got screwed over in his career. He got a lot of bad bull crap. He was much better than he'll ever get credit for, and I'm glad karma is coming back and kind of, on his side for this part of his career.
He was undrafted your year, right?
Yes, he was, right. Yeah. I can still remember.
And I remember hearing in 2004,
right,
somebody told me that the Cowboys have this quarterback named Tony Romo that they love. And my reaction was, who the hell is Tony Romo?
Right.
And that was the first time I ever heard of him. And 2 years later, he supplants Drew Bledsoe. And it was like instant. Like, they put him in. He passed the smell test. This is the power of being the Cowboys quarterback, right? You plug a guy in, he gets it done, and then all of a sudden, he's regarded as one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL because he's got the star in his helmet.
Yeah, I know. You're right. It was like seamless. What was that, a Carolina Panthers Monday Night Football game when he first made his first start? And Bill Parcells gave him all the winks and the nods, like, good job, you're my guy. But Tony Romo will go down as one of those guys, to me, that's a victim of his own greatness. He always will. Made a lot of teams 8-8 and 9-7, and we all went, oh, he can't even get to the playoffs. And I want to go, they were like 5-11 teams that he was clutch because he was the most clutch quarterback in football for like a 7 or 8 year period there. The statistics bear that out. And because of that, they looked better record-wise than they actually were.
Part of this story as well from the New York Post, CBS during the negotiations with Tony Romo went to Peyton Manning and offered him $10 or $12 million a year, which would have been a record. He had no idea, presumably, that they were ready to really dig even deeper to get Tony Romo. And you wonder, I wonder if Peyton Manning's like, hey, if you were going to pay $18 million a year, I'd have taken $18 million a year. Why didn't you offer me that?
I thought the same thing. Or he's probably like, I feel disrespected that you offered Tony Romo $6 million more than I did.
Well, now he does. At the time, he probably thought this is the most anybody's ever paid anyone.
Yeah.
He probably, and here's the thing, Chris. Could the fact that it's out there now that CBS offered him $10 to $12 million and later got Romo for $18 million, is that the final kick in the ass for Peyton Manning to go make $20 million at ESPN? So there's no misunderstanding as to who the sheriff really is, right? And all due respect to Tony Romo, you give me Romo, or if there's the same game, two feeds, one's Romo, one's Peyton Manning, I'm listening to Peyton Manning. Sorry, I'm listening to Peyton Manning.
Well, I mean, at a base level, I hear you. I got to hear Peyton Manning do a game first, but yeah, I mean,
he's been in the booth with Al Michaels and Chris Collinsworth. He's going to be great.
I know
if he does it. He's going to be great.
I know.
He's naturally funny. He's just enough self-deprecating that it's not. It's good. He's
got a great way about him.
He needs Peyton. I'll kick in a little bit. I want you on Monday Night Football. Let's do it. Get it done. And right?
What?
I'm not kicking in.
No,
I'm not
I was going to say,
shit.
damn, you're going to give the guy that's got $250 million. You're going to kick in a little more cash for him.
You know how I already kick it in through my cable bill. That's how I'm kicking it in for ESPN. Although here's the thing, Chris.
Yeah.
There is persistent talk that ESPN's Monday Night Football is going to become once again ABC's Monday Night Football when these new deals get done. Bigger platform justifies the bigger payday.
Right.
And that may be the thing also that persuades Peyton to come back. Remember, last year, one of the reasons he didn't do it, Eli's still playing.
That's right.
Didn't want to do Eli games.
Yeah.
This year, not an issue. So I hope he does it. Look,
I do too. I would love it.
We're with NBC, but we watch football games.
Yeah.
And but put Peyton in the booth with Al and Chris. That'd be great. Al and Chris are the platinum standard. That's not even a point of conversation. But these other guys, if we're, look, and Monday Night Football is one of the games you and I can actually watch. We're not doing 1,000 other things. So the idea of getting Peyton Manning in a platform where we can watch and hear what he has to say and what he thinks and what he knows and his understanding of the game, I think that it would be money well spent if ESPN were to do it. That's my personal opinion.
I'm with you. I'm all in. I mean, Peyton Manning, I think, is the best sports actor we've seen in sports the last 20 years. I mean, his commercials, they all make me giggle. The stuff that I've seen with, what the hell did he do this year on ESPN Plus, Peyton's Places or whatever?
Peyton's Places.
Not that I subscribe to it, but I saw a lot of it, and he's funny, he's witty, he's smart, and of course knows about as much about the game as anybody we've ever seen. So I'm with you. I'd be all in for it too.
All right, that's it for today's PFTOT. We'll be back on Wednesday morning, PFT Live, 3-man weave edition. Peter King. I didn't know Peter King was going to be joining us. Peter King, Chris Sims, and Mike Florio. We'll see you tomorrow morning. Enjoy the rest of your day. Check out ProFootballTalk.com. Is there a new Chris Sims on button today?
Oh, yeah, it's coming today. It'll be out this afternoon. We're going to tape it around 11 a.m. this morning.
Give me an idea what you're going to talk about.
All combine stuff, winners, losers, things that jumped out to me there, a little free agent news, all that kind of stuff.
Things
That's
that jumped out to you or things that jumped out of you?
Well, both. I might explain both here, and that's what the podcast is for.
All right. Enjoy the day. Check out Chris Sims Unbuttoned, and we will see everyone back here again on Wednesday.
See ya.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.